Now, guys, I'm long overdue in revisiting some of the programming stuff that I did in the first couple of years that I had this channel. So, without further ado, you guys read the title, you know what this is. We're going to start this off by getting into programming through 5 different levels of complexity. Level 1, no plan. When I say no plan, I mean you have a basic understanding of exercises and what they do, and you might even have a decent amount of experience with them. But the order you do them in gets winged, and you might not even do the same order or the same type of exercises workout to workout. For you, the idea of a training program just sounds foreign, and you can't wrap your head around doing anything in the gym other than exactly what you feel like that day. You freely incorporate into your workouts whatever the most recent shiny new thing that came across your radar was. It might be a John Meadows drop set that looked really fun, or some TikTok challenge, Eddie Hall's deadlift pyramid, CT Fletcher's bench marathon. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, this is a really fun way to train, and it's how many of us started training. It's how many of us fell in love with working out to begin with. You just go in and do things for the fun of it. You let the effort and the experimentation rule the workout, and you're grateful for whatever gains just happen to come your way. It's almost a healthier way to engage with your workouts. For basic longevity and usefulness, it's certainly a metric shit ton better than sitting on the couch, and it's at least as good as getting on a treadmill or walking around the block. But you're not here because you're particularly interested in health and longevity. You don't need to agitate your hemorrhoids setting a deadlift PR or vomit in the parking lot from the Bulgarian Smolov hybrid squat cycle you've been running to add a couple of years to your life. If you were here for that, I'd just tell you to cut out the red meat and get your steps in. Now, you want the secret sauce that's going to take you to that next level, so stick around because the next levels of complexity are going to tell you what you need to know to take your journey as far as you can. Now, I wish I could say that this first level was only occupied by rote novices or people that just didn't take lifting that seriously. I'm a little depressed to say that there are too many world champions that actually have beachfront property at level 1. Having the game genie genetics that turn your body into a permanent protein synthesizing machine is an advantage that no amount of training can make up for. But I'm not here to feed you the nihilistic pill. I'm here to help you meet reality on reality's terms and do what you can with what you have. The people that don't have the magic Futurama worms jazzercising their muscles while they sleep need to pay attention because the following set of rules is going to be how you get ahead. Level 2, mastering the workout. So now you're a veteran. You've been working out for a whopping 6 months and you've read enough bodybuilding.com articles to know that there's a better way to do things. You've seen the light. You're no longer going to go in and just wing it. You are after the optimal workout. At this stage, you're concerned with doing the best exercises that give you the most bang for the buck. You're paying attention to execution. You're doing them in the right order. And you're spending your weeknights on Reddit getting neck deep in the arguments over the perfect set and rep scheme and how to put them into the perfect training split. You've got your talking points all set for the next time you need to lecture somebody about why you always train to failure. And you've even got some PubMed articles memorized from your research.
High-intensity training principles are rooted in peer-reviewed scientific literature.
Suckers better hope they don't make the mistake of stepping to you. Now, once you start to incorporate these top secret maneuvers into your training, you realize what all the fuss was about. Because you're not doing bench press after 37 sets of cable flies, you're actually a little bit more fresh, and that gave you the juice to hit a string of PRs for like 8 weeks in a row. You actually have consistency now, so you're tracking the improvements you're making in your workouts, and you feel that you're building skill in the specific things that you filled your workout with. Now, your search for discovering and implementing the optimal workout regimen has also insulated you from the stupid shit that was sidelining your training before. You stopped doing the Joel Seedman single leg one arm banded Bosu ball monkey in place of good old fashioned squats, and the simple act of doing the same thing week in, week out has blessed you with gains that are so plentiful it seems like they're never going to stop. Now you realize training is easy. I don't know what everybody's complaining about. At this rate, I'll be Olympia ready by November. Where's my coaching certificate? Well, my naive friend, training certainly is easy, right up until it's not. And that brings us to level 3, progressive overload. Hey Jake, I've been training for a while and I'm stuck. What should I do? Well, the training program I gave you has the optimal number of sets and reps, and the exercises were scientifically proven to be optimal. I guess you should just keep doing that. Just keep doing it for like ever? Yeah, I mean, it's optimal. Why wouldn't you? I don't know. Diminished returns? I'm not growing anymore. Oh, well, that just means you need progressive overload. How do I do that? You overload progressively. But like, do I add weight? Do I add a set? Do I add reps? If I keep doing that, isn't it going to be harder to recover? Aren't I going to need to change the amount of work that I do? Isn't that going to kick me out of the optimal range that you set for me? This should have all been covered by the PubMed articles I sent you. You're asking a lot of questions. Are you denying science? This expertly written dialogue illustrates that the discussion around optimal training protocols completely misses the dimension of time. See, we're adaptive creatures, and the whole point of adaptation is making the thing that was difficult for us at the beginning no longer difficult. Many optimalists know that there is a thing called progressive overload, but they don't know exactly what that is, and they're sure not going to admit that to anybody. Now, this gap in knowledge is allowed to persist because just going really hard actually does a pretty good job of causing growth for a while, and it has an element of progressive overload built in. If you got a little bit stronger from the last workout and you're training just as hard, you will inevitably do more weight or more reps than last time. So, yeah, progressive overload. The issue is what happens when you don't get stronger from one workout to the next, or if you have a life change. Maybe you have a newborn, you switch to night shifts, or you just don't have the same time to train or to sleep that you used to. What happens after that first workout where you don't PR? Or if you have a run of workouts where you're starting to backslide despite doing everything right? Now, there are certainly a lot of ways to implement progressive overload. You could focus on the volume, the amount of work that you're doing. You can focus on pushing weight up, or you can use something like a step progression where you're keeping the same weight for a long period of time and focusing on doing more reps, more work with that. Some of these progressions can even accommodate training to failure, like some of you optimalists might have already been doing. You can start at a weight you fail at 12 to 15 reps with and commit to adding 5 pounds each session until you're in the 5 to 6 rep range. Drop back and repeat. Others do really well when you pace yourself, starting shy of failure so you can build up more total reps, then increase effort as time goes on. Getting comfortable with these methods is clutch because this is exactly how you will plan out longer blocks of training with more advanced periodized approaches. There's a lot of them, and these are the building blocks, so get comfortable now. Guys, pay attention because Barbell Apparel's annual Memorial Day sale is ending. For a limited time, get any athletic fit jeans, chinos, or anything pants for just $99. And even better, they're offering up to 40% off any overstock items. They sell out every year, so be sure to grab yours before the sale ends. Remember, Barbell Apparel backs up their clothing with a no questions asked 365-day guarantee. If anything happens to your clothing, they'll help you repair or replace it so you can get back after whatever training, adventure, or mission that your daily life demands. So you've got progressive overload down. That brings us to number 4. How long can I do this? And then what do I do after that? I know I led you to believe that we'd beat diminished returns by incorporating good old-fashioned progressive overload. We found a way to increase the stress on a consistent timeline, and that's just going to guarantee that we're always experiencing a brand new fresh muscle-building stimulus, and there's just blue skies ahead. Boy, I'm so excited to go to World's Strongest Man next year. But the thing is, diminished returns is a real SOB. Not only can you adapt to movements and rep ranges to where they stop causing your body to adapt and get stronger, but I've talked to other professional coaches who cited that clients stopped adapting to actual methods of progression to the point where they weren't responding to the same method of adding weight to the bar. This means that the human body in some sense becomes resistant to the actual pattern of increasing stress. That's like the machine becoming self-aware and sidelining your attempts to cut the cord. What that means is that we just have to go to another level of complexity. If you have a workout that is structured intelligently, and if you've been applying a method of progressive overload for some time, then you have to get to the bottom of why you're hitting the wall, even though you've been diligent in keeping the stress going forward. Take solace in the fact that your body is actually not outsmarting you. You're just failing to recognize the signals it sends you by how it responds to what you put it through. When you stop responding, it's either because you're not recovered enough, so you keep racking up fatigue and aren't letting yourself express new growth, or it's because the type of stress you're putting your body under isn't new or substantial enough to cause growth. It's always one side of that equation, or sometimes a little bit of both. You're either under-recovered or under-stimulated. So imagine the double progression example we use. Imagine you took a weight that you could squat 10 reps with and decided to do 3 sets to failure. When you're able to do 3 sets of 12, you decide you're going to add weight and repeat. So you do that. It takes about 3 weeks, the first time. But you hit your target and then add weight. It takes another 3 weeks before hitting 3 sets of 12 again. And you repeat this process. This time it takes 5 weeks. The next time it took 8. Then you found yourself in a rut where for several weeks in a row, you were not able to put a single rep on your working set. You're also tired of going in, gritting your teeth, and pushing yourself to the limit for absolutely no improvement in performance. It's getting to you psychologically. Not only are you not getting stronger, but you will actually get to a point where the fatigue from the workout is enough to hurt your recovery, and ensure that you're not going to grow. If the work is overly familiar, you're not getting any real adaptive stimulus from that. So you're really getting all the fatigue with none of the real benefit. Now, hypertrophy heads can run their progressions indefinitely and just wait for the signs of stagnation to pop up before committing to some type of deload or switch to a different exercise or method of progression. But strength athletes require predictability. They have to train in heavier ranges to get the adaptations that they're looking for, and they have to know how long they can train with effort at a given range with the movements that they need before every workout just turns into an uncomfortable and unproductive grindy suckfest with no hope of improvement in sight. So to get a handle on this, we have to figure out how long that period is. Be honest with yourself. If you were to deadlift at 80% for 3 sets as hard as you could every single week, how many weeks would you be able to do that before your progress would stagnate or go down? I'm not recommending you run through that protocol to find out, but you should have some idea of what your time frame is, and that will inform how long a particular block of training is. 3 to 4 weeks is a pretty common time frame for most people. The idea is to start a bit light and ramp up to really substantial work with high effort for as long as it's sustainable in that time period. Beyond that, we have a couple of options. You can hit a deload to let your body recover and catch up before picking up right where you left off, business as usual. If you're a strength athlete who's running through a periodized routine, then your blocks are going to be spent in a specific threshold. 65 to 80% for hypertrophy, 80 to 90% for strength, 90% plus for peaking. Or a rep range. You can simplify it by spending time doing 8 to 12 reps, then 4 to 8 reps, then 1 to 3 reps. So what you do is allocate a block of training to that particular range, milk it for all it's worth, and reach that crescendo where you are barely balancing stress and recovery before moving on to the next threshold and working back up. Now you can see that if you're in that range too long, you're not going to recover, you're going to backslide, you're going to burn out. And if you're not in it long enough, then you're not going to get any of that meaningful growth that's so essential before you progress to the next phase. So that's why timing here is really important. This is the backbone of all periodized approaches that you'll encounter down the road. Then lastly, we have level 5, tying it all together. We're getting close here. We're almost to our final form. We figured out how to put together a workout and a split that makes it look like we know what we're doing. We know how to take that work and progress it week to week so we can get stronger for longer. We know how long we can handle that for before burning out, and we have a plan for what to do next. It seems like we got all the working pieces to be programming warlocks. Now to get that degree from Hogwarts, we just need to be able to take everything we've learned and tie it together in one nice, neat macro cycle of a package. Now all of this is going to be most appropriate for strength athletes or those actively engaged in competing. If you train for fun or if you just don't have the desire to actually compete, you don't need to plan your training out this far ahead. You just need the broad view, so you have some direction of where you're going, so you don't have to make it up on the spot when you get stuck, when what you're doing right now stops working. But to take wherever you are right now and connect it to the fully realized package you're going to bring to the powerlifting platform in front of all your friends and family and your high school bullies who are going to judge you based on how you do, you need to do what we call a macro cycle. That's the full kit and caboodle, start to finish. So we've already got the broad strokes. We start out with something we can generally call an accumulation, hypertrophy, or volume phase. That's going to be made up of 1 or 2 blocks of training at 65 to 80%, generally done for a lot of sets, working up to a good amount of effort on most of them. We're going to do 3 to 4 weeks of that before deloading and running through it again. By the end of that, you should have a good amount of capacity built up. You should be a little bit more muscular, and you should be primed and ready for some really heavy ass weight. After that, you go into what's called a strength or transmutation phase. You're still going to keep the number of working sets pretty high, but the reps are going to drop and we're going to pile some actual weight on the bar. 80 to 90% of a real true blue current 1 rep max is pretty normal for phases like this, where we take the qualities we gained in the first phase and start to chisel them down into a sword that we use to cut the heads off of our enemies. Now it's important that 80 to 90% is of a true real max, not a fantasy max, because you want the weight to feel heavy, you want it to slow you down a little bit, but it should be technically crisp. It should be something where there's no bones about it. The reps you're going to be doing aren't going to be ball busting. It's going to be crisp, smooth strength work. That is a very delicate balance, and many people go way too far to one side and make it too damn heavy. Your peak is not going to go well if your strength phase was filled with a bunch of reps with weight you had absolutely no business handling. Now, after we got all that taken care of, finally we have the peak or realization phase where we allow full recovery and we start to get to the weight most specific to what you would do when you test a 1 rep max. So this is getting over 90% on just about everything and leaving behind the fluff. We leave behind the concentration curls, the dumbbell shrugs, the calf raises, and we just do things that look a lot like what you're going to do on the platform. Now, this basic outline of periodization works because it accounts for recovery. You push the envelope just long enough to force an adaptation, but not so long that the constantly increasing stress bites you in the ass. When you get close to that point, you're either going into a deload that allows you to recover, or you're just switching into a different phase of training that allows some recovery just by virtue of being different. Now, all of these phases are different. Running them expertly is something that you're only going to be able to find out through trial and error. The rate at which you progress effort and how you juggle all of the exercises in the first phase of training is going to be quite a bit different than the last. It also changes based on your experience level. You guys that are just starting out need a ton of developmental work, so just about all of your time needs to be spent accumulating volume. Figure out what a good volume phase feels like and how long you can run it for, and get comfortable pushing them to the limit before taking a deload. Then run it again and again and again. You're going to want to run through a lot of this work relative to the specific or peaking type work that you would do. Now, on the other hand, we have people that are highly specialized who need a lot more specific work in proportion to their developmental work. When you're looking at people that squat 6, 7, 800 pounds, you're looking at people that have so much specialization in what they do that they need more specialized work. So more of their training is going to be focused on the things that they're already good at because they are pushing the limits of what their skill will allow them to do. You can take a 1,000-pound deadlifter and have him leave deadlifts alone for 6 months to do bodybuilding work. And while he might come back a little bit better in that, maybe even with a little more mass on his frame, the odds of him setting a deadlift PR are going to be next to nothing. So you want to start bit by bit. Make sure your workouts are solid. Make sure they tie into a proven split. And make sure that once you have that week set in stone, that you become masterful at progressing your work week in, week out, keeping in mind that it's not going to progress forever and you have to have a game plan for when that progress stops coming. If you've gotten to the point where you know what it feels like when the programming starts to get spread thin, when you feel like you're not recovering and the effort isn't paying off in the form of new progress, and when you have a plan, a go-to method for what to do when that stops working, then you've got it made. Because it is in those two things that people plateau and they start spinning their wheels not knowing what to do. You have just solved the mystery of program. So that's all I got for today, guys. Let me know about your experience with the things I talked about here. Let me know where you get stuck. I know I had a hell of a time making sense of programming early on when I started out. What things mystify you? What things cause problems in your day-to-day? Let me know in the comments section. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Till next time, this is Bromley. I'll see you.